going funny there. Okay, well, excuse me, I'm going to restart. Because, oh no, that cough was unexpected. We started recording and now I think I am doing the recording now because Rob had a little bit of a hitch there. So today is the 28th of July, and as I said, I just can't believe that the year has gone by so fast. Monday, this coming Monday, will be month end. So remember the 20-80% rule, that everything gets done, 80% of the work gets done in 20% of the time. Andre, if you don't mind me quickly finishing off the sort of housekeeping at this stage. Monday is, I think if you haven't done it by Monday, you have missed the date for booking for the summit. I have collected from the company yesterday the people who have already booked in our little in our team, and I have a whole lot more people I'm going to be phoning today. So we can still put those, I checked with Aria, we can still put those bookings in. It's worth it and you save on the money. So Andre, I think you and I just go back and check the faithfuls and remind them, see if there's anybody who would be interested in coming. Also, the special for new people remains at 285 within the first, whatever, it'll be exactly to the start of the convention. I don't know yet, I haven't had time to do my research, but Andre, you've said a little bit that the Susan Beck is phenomenal. And I really am looking forward to that. The date will be the 14th of October. So we've got August, September, October. Also, Andre and I have been briefly, and we need to go back to thinking about this, Andre, that September, October, November, we do a 90-day push. But we will watch the space. We will make a final decision on that in due course. It's very nice to finish the year on a very high, on a good high. And I think the aspirations are still there for all of us to grow and to achieve greater things. So I don't know if there's any more on the housekeeping side in terms of company. The events are being published regularly, almost overpowering at times. But Andre, you have picked up for us this week, looking at me with astonishment, and I didn't get to watch it yesterday or the day before. Thursday afternoon, we had our team meeting at 7 o'clock. And then, but earlier on in the evening, and if you'd looked at the time schedule for Zoom, it was zooming to 3 different zones. A training on that little elusive product, which we tend to forget about, called SuperGro. So, Andre, can I hand over to you?
Yeah, sure. Just before I say a few things about SuperGro, I just want to pick up on it's Susan Beck, is it?
Yes.
The person who's going to be a speaker. Yeah, she's very highly qualified at all sorts of things within the scope of what we do. But there's a very interesting article she has written. And if you go to neolifeblog.com, there are actually some interesting things there. It's an American-based site, so there's some things that don't directly apply to us. But if you look there under, I think it's under skincare, she writes an article about our skincare range where she has compared it with 40 other skincare ranges that claim to be organic and this and that and the next thing. And she says that without a doubt, our skincare comes out tops. And that is really quite remarkable. And I do just want to remind us, me especially, is that we do have this very good skincare range. For me, I started using it when it came out, which was I don't know, 5-6 years ago or so now. I don't really know.
Mm.
Because I didn't really get into the old bunch. I used 1 or 2 of the products from the old range. But when these came out, I bought the kit, if you like. And for the first time in my very long life, I have stuck with something daily. And it travels with me when I travel. I really like it. And, you know, I'm sorry I didn't start earlier, because I had to rescue a skin that had already been ravaged. But if I'd started when I was young, I'd probably look like a 40-year-old or
You
something.
do look like a 40-year-old.
Well, yeah.
You'd look like a
Keep on
20-year-old.
bluffing me. I may behave like one, but I'm not sure. But anyway, it's such a good product, and I never talk about it ever, unless there's such an obvious situation, which there almost never is. So it's one. So just bear that in mind. But that's not what we were going to talk about.
Andre, can I just thank you for taking us down the skincare route. Welcome to Galaxy J4 Core. Please identify yourself. We're very pleased you're with us. But I just wanted to mention, I'm not mentioning the opposition company, but it is the opposition company. And we have somebody recently has switched onto our skincare from that other company. And
interesting.
First,
would she give you a testimonial?
Yes, she will. Her first comment was, she didn't say anything. She just went, her eyes got bigger and bigger, and she went, and it turned out that the prices were significantly less. And she has now reordered the toner, and she and her daughter are using it with great joy. Yeah.
Great.
So,
wonderful.
Galaxy J4, we're still wondering who you are. But anyway, without much more ado, Andre, I'm going to hand over to you now, and I think you're going to do SuperGro.
Yeah, I just thought that since there was this sudden little flurry of activity about SuperGro, there's never been a training on SuperGro, to my knowledge, ever. And I think it came to the attention of the greater community because Connie is the, what's her title?
She's a registered dietitian.
No, I know, but her title within the company, she's that person for Africa. I didn't know that. I thought she was Southern Africa, but the other regions don't have a Connie equivalent. I really must learn what her title is. That's embarrassing. But anyway,
we're all embarrassed.
So she was asked to do a talk, mostly for the East African countries, about SuperGro. And I gather she was asked by Pascal Alou, who is from one of those countries, but lives in South Africa now.
He's from Kenya. I can tell you quickly. He's an engineer, came here about 25 years ago, and they were introduced to the products. If you see him giving a talk, or you can find any of his talks, don't miss them. He is a phenomenal speaker. Yeah.
So he I think arranged for Connie to do this more formal structured talk coming out of the company. And that reminded me of various things about SuperGro that I have gleaned over the years. The one thing is that there was a time, and it may still be so, that it is the biggest selling product in our whole range in Kenya. And it is sold by the, I think 5 liters is the biggest jug you can get, but it is sold by the 5 liters in huge amounts to the farmers. And my understanding is that that most of the farmers in Kenya are small holders. They don't have these huge industrial farms like we do. So people have their acreages and they grow whatever crops they do and obviously take those to market. And so there will be farmers whose crop might be beans, and another farmer whose crop might be tomatoes, and so on and so forth. And I also heard, and this may well be different now, but for many people in Kenya, when they retire from government service, they don't get given a golden handshake. They get given their plot to go and eke out a living on, and do what you call it, subsistence farming. So so there's the video that I put out is not new, but it's a very interesting video where they're looking at, where a person takes you on a tour to these farms and talks to these farmers and shows you the effect of this product on their crops. And they speak about how they need much less water, they need much less fertilizer, and they need much less by way of herbicides and pesticides, because the effectiveness is so much better when it is mixed with SuperGro. And as Connie describes in her talk, it's about, we say that it makes water wetter. It breaks the surface tension of the water, so the water can get closer to where it's got to be effective for the growing plant. So if you put it on the ground, it's interesting to watch. You make a mixture of your SuperGro with water. It's 1 ml per liter. I mean, it's a really, really, really small amounts. And you put that mixture into a watering can, and you water a plant, and where without it, the water sort of tends to run a bit over the surface before it finds a place to go down, and it usually goes down through a crack or something. It just goes down straight through into the ground, right where you've put it. And that means, of course, that the depth to which the water goes is far greater, and the proximity to the roots is very good. So the passage between water and root is maximized. And when that happens, the passage of nutrients is maximized as well. And so these plants grow with great vigor. They are robust. And in fact, some of those farmers claim that they stop having to use pesticides because the plants are so robust and healthy that they, in effect, their immune systems are up to the task. And they don't have to be aided with chemicals from the outside to deal with the pests that are hanging around. And so they get these much better yields, and as a consequence, they get more money for their efforts. And what more could you want? So when I knew this long ago, and I had some attempts that were not successful to find people who were working in probably in NGOs. I wasn't sure where to look, but I was looking at things like NGOs where they were teaching people to farm effectively on small holdings, or even just in their backyards, where they were feeding families and greater families, and making that much more effective, particularly when you think about how scarce water is here in general, and obviously under drought conditions it's much worse. And so people have to walk down into the valleys with buckets to fetch the water often, and you want that water to go as far as possible. And so what you can do with our products is that if people are washing with our products, the gray water can be used to water the plants without any ill effect. So that's one advantage. You get double duty for your water. And then if the water, if the positive impact of the water on the plant can be maximized with something like SuperGro, which is a very inexpensive product, you're doing those people a huge service. And you can probably find that you could get to the point where those people are overproducing, producing more than they need for their personal use, and then they can start selling to the neighbors and so on. So I believe there's huge potential. But what I wanted to suggest is that we do a brainstorming kind of idea to find out to have some ideas of people we might approach. And so just a little funny story. It wasn't funny at the time. I was mad as a snake. But I wanted to get a colleague at the university to actually do a little research project with his honors students. And I was going to ask him whether, if I supplied SuperGro, would he get his honors students or an honors students to do a little project to prove the efficacy. Well, he was so rude to me. He hadn't even heard my proposal when he says, "How dare you talk to me? I don't like what you do and get out of my life." I don't think he remembers it because he had been a student of mine and he had always thought I was one of his best lecturers. So I think he had a rush of blood to his head. And I've since been forced to meet him at Christmas Eve in my brother's house. and he made no, I mean, he gave me a huge embrace and we were best friends. And so he's chosen to stop that little story. But
no, I don't think he remembers it, Andre. I don't actually.
No,
I think he maybe was needing some omega-3 on the day.
I think he was not well, whatever, not well. But anyway, it was funny. And so I'm sure there are people here in our group who know people in those kinds of scenarios who might want to try this product in little mini projects and then start supplying it to the greater community. So it's those sorts of subsistence kind of things. And then, what about nurserymen? People who are growing plants for sale. It would do wonders for them. People who own plant shops could have it as a recommended product, not on their shelves, but they could tell people about it. What about forestry? Who knows people in forestry who I understand that in forestry they have the nurseries where all these seedlings are started and the trees are grown to whatever size they have to be before they get planted out into the forests, etc., etc. Because it's a cheap product. It's possibly an easier sell than for some people who still have to be persuaded that omega-3 will be good for them. And it's just another entry point into a marketplace for us. So I'm going to hand over to you now. And I mean, have you got some suggestions? Have you got some ideas as to how we might do? And do listen to those 2 videos.
Okay.
It's really worth it.
My brain is spinning, Andre.
Yeah.
And for those of us involved with BNI, I had I did my 10-minute this last week, and I'm thinking that this is what I'm going to do for my next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because all around us, in the general population, especially here in Gauteng, most people, they either go back in their holidays or weekends up to Limpopo and Northwest, or they go down to KZN, and they've all got, well, in my impression is generally most people have got that little plot out there, and having driven around Marble Hall area and a lot in that vendor area, you remember when we were working up there, there's a huge opportunity actually. So I think we shouldn't be frightened to look for building relationship with people who are doing those journeys up and down. And then in our case, we do have people in our network, in our Neolife network, thinking of Peter in particular. Rob, Andre, he's the guy who does our painting. and he distributes products all the time. So it might be a lovely leg for him, a way for him to build that network.
And maybe your, I forget his name, your Malawian manservant.
Yes, yeah.
And what about Gervis?
Indeed. Yes. Yes. That I will definitely pursue with him as well. So just for everybody's edification and delight, I've decided that this is going to be my new name book. And I've put at the top here SuperGro, and I've written down there, and I'm going to start writing the names now, Andre. And I'm going to make this my book for all the names that in future, for the next short while, as I collect for the next phase and stage of my life.
Can I add something there?
Yes.
And this is general. It's not just applying to SuperGro, which we're just talking about briefly today, but it applies generally. I've been attending online some trainings about marketing, and particularly if you're trying to do something online, social media or something. And it's not new. It's the same thing that Kim Claver has said for yonks, and it takes some of us a lifetime to actually embody the information. But anyway, the message is very, very, very strong that the niche has to be as tight as possible for you to attract people into that niche. So the message was choose one product, or maybe, you know, if it's kids nutrition, it's a couple of products, but you choose one product, and for a period of time, Kim Claver says 100 days, this other person was saying for a month or so, you only speak about that product on social media and in anything, in any promotion that you're doing, so that you get known as the person who's got kids nutrition, say. And anybody who is out in the world looking for kids nutrition, they hear the message, they get the 30 to 35 drips, and you build up a sense of authority in their minds that this is a person who knows what they're talking about. You post little things about success stories with the products, you post all sorts of things, and you collect your tribe of people who want to get kids nutrition from you, and then you start servicing them and building that. I'll get back to you in a mo. Then after that, you go to another product, and it might be omega-3, and for a month or so you only talk omega-3, and you build another audience, if you like. And so you've got these groupings of people who have different interests that you collect, and then you service them, and you can expand their baskets. But when one day you say omega, and the next day you say SuperGro, and the next day you say Super 10, you're so scattered in terms of your message, yes, that nobody hears it.
Yeah. So what's speaking in my head at the moment then, Andre, if we could just do the little continue with the brainstorming here. I am, as with last time when we did the 90-day thing, we left it up to the individual to decide if they want to do it. And if you want to do it, you're going to choose your timing, amount of time you'll do on a daily basis, etc., etc. One of the main things to do with the 90-day push, or the 100 days, as they're saying here, is, as you are saying, is you need to spend at least, I think, 30 days planning it. So as we're going into August now, I'm suggesting that this could be the planning time. And so anybody listening to this recording and you would like to use this opportunity as we move into the end of the year, which is a very, very busy time, I think it makes such sense to choose that one niche that Andre is telling us. So start thinking for yourselves, for your 90 days, what would your niche be? What are you going to experiment with or share, or how are you going to do that? So you've given us a list there, Andre, of possible areas. I know for someone like myself who has lost the plot when it came to social media, I need to reactivate that. So maybe for someone like me, it would be maybe, Rob, you do the Facebook focus and I do the Instagram focus. You see, if we work together, we could do we don't all have to do all of it on our own. If you are on your own, then you choose something like Facebook. And then we, Andre, as Upline, should possibly put it into our planning to be supporting and supplying people with posts. Does that make sense? And if we chose
we can certainly do that.
Yeah. So certain niches then would be, let's think about it, would be definitely children.
Yeah, I'm currently working on that niche and I'm getting some traction, actually.
And I'm thinking that with Meryl working with children, it could be her niche as well. And I think this could be an area we can speak to our downlines on and ask each person, what would you like to focus on for your niche for the next 90 days? And just go for it as a target area. I mean, possibly even I should think about children. But what are the other areas that people could choose as a niche? So certainly, SuperGro lends itself to the gardening, small farming type of environment.
Yeah, I think that it's quite an interesting niche for someone to consider if they want to play with it. You know, I think let's rather than just thumbsuck, let's think and we can put up some ideas on the WhatsApp.
And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak to individuals and see what they feel, how they would like to develop that.
Yeah.
But so we've gone from SuperGro now to niches. I want to just give a little testimony. Yesterday when I spoke to you, Andre, things were going a little bit haywire around here because we'd had the little grandson all afternoon. And he got offered by his mother. What did she offer him? She offered him something like either a chip or a packet of chips, one of those little packet of chips, or would he like to have, what was it? Anyway, he said no, he wanted to have Granny's vitamins. So it was something that was really tempting for a child. And the father was there. And of course, you know, being Monica, I'm always putting pressure on people in my immediate vicinity where the business is concerned. And the father looks at me and says, you must leave your business to Raf. So children are speaking to me loud and clear, as you mentioned that, Andre. And then the other thing this week, and will come out as a better video next week. I sent Louise in Holland a request because Arwen, the 18-month-old, is refusing the Vita squares now, but she has to literally hide the omegas. This child is completely obsessed with omega, and she sent a little video with turning away the Vita square and begging for the omega, which also indicates to me certainly, you know, you subconsciously you almost crave what you don't have, isn't it? It's so interesting. So, but she didn't put the bottle in the video, so I'll send that out in the near future. I'm very guilty on collecting testimonials. I've got them coming in around me all the time. Please collect testimonials and find a way to save them on your phones. And when you find the way, tell us how you do it.
Yes, tell us how, and then we can get a library that we can all use.
Yeah. Okay, so
Is Rob willing and able to tell us his testimonial about Fantastic right now?
Yeah, do that, Rob. As you did it on Wednesday.
Well, there was a remark on Wednesday that we were actually breeding goldfish in our flat because there was so much water on the floor. But anyway,
just tell them
the
why there was so much water on the floor.
So the issue here is that it was a big municipal thing where they had to shut the water down. And of course, the whole day there's no water. People leave taps open and they don't make sure that they're closed when there's no water. So we were watching TV over here, and all of a sudden I got up and I saw, oh, here's some water on the floor. It immediately clicked in my mind, there's a problem here. I didn't even say anything to Monica. I just rushed outside, got in the flat, and there, sure enough, was a tap. And the sink had overflowed. The sink had got blocked. I mean, luckily, it had got blocked because the water would have run all night. But anyway, it rolled over the sink and onto the floor. And there was about this much water on the floor, simply because we got a step to stop the water coming in so the water couldn't get out. Anyway, so we turned that all off and we cleaned it all up. We phoned Alistair, who was around, and he came with a friend as well, and we cleaned up the whole floor. And there was no water had gone in between the parquet flooring, which sometimes happens. And the reason is that we've been putting Fantastic down on the floor, and the Fantastic had sealed the floor completely, and so no water had got into it. And touch wood, at the moment it looks fine. You don't go in there and get the smell of damp or anything like that. So the only place that we left it out, of course, is in the cupboard. We should probably have painted the cupboard with some of the water in. We should have painted that with Fantastic in case this happens again. Yeah, so that's a product and a outcome of using the product that I'd never ever thought of before. So often when they put this stuff down on parquet floors and so, there's always little gaps in the blocks, and the nature of the paint that they put down doesn't always penetrate into that. But it's Fantastic because it's a thin emulsion. It goes into the gaps and it seals it off completely.
Fantastic. Yeah, you should go and speak to the parquet floor people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They can sell it together when they've put in parquet floors or sanded parquet floors or whatever. They sell that product to their customers. Just saying.
The thing is, people don't always see that they're necessarily having high traffic. So in that particular place where the people are going in and out the whole time, and every time they come into the flat, you want it to look good. So you have to spruce it up, as it were.
And that's the lovely thing about Fantastic. You don't have to put it on the entire floor. If it's still looking good on the sides, you don't even notice that there's been another strip of it put on. So what a blessing, what a boon. I mean, the cost, we would have had hassle with insurance, and the person in there is in there for 3 months in our little cottage. We would have had to have moved her out. The thought of all